welcome back to the channel. Today I would like to introduce you to a new series right here on Heavens to Betsy, and it's called Toilet Talk Tuesday. That's right, you heard it here first. We're gonna have a talk, and it's just gonna be me sitting here telling you a story, kind of like TED Talks, but not as good. Today's story is going to be about DeluxeVille. You might be asking yourself, what the heck is DeluxeVille? I'm here to share the story with you today. So, make a long story short, I was thinking the other day about other things that I can do on my channel to keep it interesting. You all know by this point that I love vintage clothing, and I am a reseller of vintage clothing. But maybe you've asked yourself, or not, how did she start reselling vintage clothing? So I'm here to share the story with you today. So how did it all start? It started like most kids, the vintage obsession. I was in high school. I was an artsy kid. I was into, alternative music and alternative dressing. And so it just kind of began the love affair probably in my late teens. And, it just progressed from there. But, what about DeluxeVille? So DeluxeVille is a name that I thought up when I started writing a blog back in the early 2000s. My blog name was Welcome to DeluxeVille. I was writing a blog just about my vintage lifestyle that I was living. I wrote this blog for many years, and it was just me going on different adventures and me wearing vintage clothing and me finding different home decor from the 1950s because my love affair was totally with that mid-century time frame. I'm going to pop in some pictures of DeluxeVille so you can see what my house looked like back in the day when I was posting up on the blog. And wow, those are some good memories. It was just me having a great old time. I'm still having a great old time. Blogger. And that's really where the name came from. It was an opportunity for me to kind of have like a separate self. I was teaching high school kids at the time, and I didn't want them to find me online in any way, shape, or form. I just wanted the kids to think that I lived in the art closet and I didn't have a house and I didn't have a family. I just lived in the art closet. Secret identity. But how did I get into resale? Well, it's pretty easy to get into resale if you are a collector. I was a collector of vintage clothing for a long time. So I would buy in bulk from estates when I would go to auctions because nobody really wanted those items, or at least not in my area. There wasn't a lot of competition for it. So I would go to an auction and I would buy the whole wardrobe of this person in this house, right? No competition for it, so I would buy it. So out of that, I might pick a few things that I want for myself, and then I would end up having a lot of stuff left over that was either too big for me or too small for me, or I didn't really care. It wasn't the right era for me. And so I started selling on eBay. I don't think Etsy was around at that point, and then when Etsy came around, I started selling on Etsy. But I would do it in the summertime when I was not teaching. And that's kind of how it started. That's, I think, is how a lot of people became vintage clothing resellers, because you were so immersed in it yourself and you were using it to kind of feed your habit. I was selling vintage clothing that I didn't want to feed my vintage clothing habit and my vintage home decor habit. And that's really how it all started. So where am I now? What happened was my husband made me a vintage vending trailer, which I named DeluxeVille. DeluxeVille is an actual 1950s, 40s or 50s concession trailer that people sold hot dogs and french fries and Cokes out of at markets and fairs and carnivals. And he found it a few years back in a junkyard. And he came home and he showed me the picture and he says, "Do you want this?" And I'm like, hell yeah, I want that. He spent a year, tore it down to the frame and rebuilt it for me. And if you watch the beginning of all my videos, there is DeluxeVille at the beginning of my videos. And that's the story of DeluxeVille. It went from me writing a blog to a complete business with a vending trailer and a cool sign. Oh, I forgot to tell you about my sign. So my sign, DeluxeVille, is basically my advertising sign that I use when I do pop-up events. And I found that many years ago at an auction, and it is an actual Thor battery sign. This sign was missing the front part of the Thor battery sign, and it was missing the cord and the light inside, like it had been gutted out. I bought it at an auction for like $40, and my husband's like, that's awesome, I'm gonna make you a sign out of that. Okay, cool. And then he made me the DeluxeVille sign. Top 5 of my most favorite things that I've ever found at an auction. And I think what makes it even more awesome is the fact that my husband took it and turned it into like a working advertising sign for me. So anyway, that was my first Toilet Talk Tuesday. Thank you for watching if you got it this far, and yeah, take it easy. I'll see you soon.